Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Sumok. How are you?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Moksha. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
I'm also good, thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Dhavya. So let
Good
us
evening,
wait for
ma'am.
the other. Good evening, Pranay. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
I am also good. What about the Sunday's test?
I have to do it, ma'am. I actually went out of station. Like I had a lot of things, like exams just completed. Then we went out of station. Yeah, so I'll sit and complete all of my weekly tests on one day.
Okay, all right, no problem. See, because I think only two kids were remaining. I can remember your name and one more child is there. I can't remember, but I have noted down. Others all have submitted. You and Meher, actually. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Abhinav.
Ma'am, today are we going to continue with crafting?
Today we are going to continue with the artificial, first of all, artificial vegetative propagation, right?
Good evening,
Natural,
ma'am.
good evening, Arav. So natural, we are done with the last week, and now we have to start with the artificial vegetative propagation. I think we all can turn on the video now. So turn on the videos, children.
Wait, ma'am.
Okay. So last week we discussed about the natural propagation. In that we have discussed that naturally, with the help of the stem, with the help of the roots, with the help of the leaves, the plant will be growing, right? Where the human intervention is not needed. Humans are not needed at all. So naturally, through the nature, it will be happening. Now, today we'll be discussing about the artificial vegetative propagation, where definitely the humans have to involve themselves, right? So maybe as like the kids you can involve, maybe the mother, maybe the father, someone loves actually gardening, so they will be doing it. So whosoever like it, they will be doing it. And that kind of system, that kind of propagation where the human intervention is there for the growth of the plant, that is called as artificial vegetative propagation. And why we are growing actually the plants, we are growing to get something out of it. It is not like actually I love the rose plants, that's the reason I'm growing it. So sometimes it might be actually, in the case of the rose plant, it is because it looks beautiful actually, and the different colors are there, for that we are growing. But most of the time in our homes, if we are growing any plant, that is because of any kind of the use. Maybe if we are growing fruits, they are useful for us, right? We will be eating them. If we are growing vegetables, they are also useful for us. We will eat them. So there is reason behind them to grow, right? We are spending much time for it. So why we are spending time? Not simply like for the fun, not simply like we will not be getting anything. So okay, we should spend time. No, nothing like that, right? So since we are getting something out of it, maybe the medicinal plants we are growing like tulsi we have, or maybe we are growing for the fruits, maybe we are growing for the vegetables, or maybe the crops are grown, so that is for the need actually. So such type of practices where we are doing it for some other reason, that is called as horticulture. I hope you have heard this word, horticulture. HORTICULTURE. How many of you have heard that word horticulture? No. Moksha saying no. Okay.
Geography.
Any other? Okay. Siddharth.
Ma'am, I have, ma'am.
No. Geography. Yeah.
Heard it, ma'am.
Geography. You might have heard that. Okay. You have heard it. So do you know what is the exact meaning of it, Abhinav?
Growing plants with the
Hmm.
help of artificial. environment
Okay.
and help, like artificial help, not natural means.
Okay. Somehow, like
Embracing that.
little. Okay. Like you might have heard the word animal husbandry, right? Rearing of the animals. Same way, when we talk about the horticulture, it means growing of the plants for the human use. Okay, that is what the horticulture is.
One, there are
So
branches in horticulture, right?
yeah, so many horticultures are there. It
Yes.
can be for the oil, it can be for the spices, it can be for the weeds. So different types are there. So, but all together, that's why we say it is a horticulture, which will be including different types of the plants in that, and that are grown for the human use. It can be for the cultivation of the fruits, it can be for the cultivation of the vegetables, the nuts, what you eat actually, like the fox nut you have. You know what is fox nut? No, makhana. No.
Ye-
Yeah,
Yes.
makhana will
Yes.
be
Yes.
small, small, white
Yes,
in color.
We know.
yes,
The round it will be. That is called as foxnut.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so foxnut will be there, mushrooms will be there, herbs will be there, shrubs will be there. All these actually, wherever the human intervention is there, and where the human has to use them, uh, that is called as the horticulture. Okay, so this artificial vegetative propagation is basically where the humans are intervening, and we are producing some of the new plants with the help of the old ones only. So we have to cut the stems, we have to cut the roots, might be we have to maybe cut one part of the plant, then fix into the other part. So these are the different types of the artificial vegetative propagation we have. So we will be learning three different types: cutting, layering, and grafting. So three major types are there: cutting, layering, and grafting. When you talk about cutting, it's nothing but just simply to cut the stem of the parent plant and then to fix it in the soil. Like if we have the rose plant, okay, if I cut the rose plant with a node and internode, and if I fix it in the soil, and on daily basis I give them the water or the essential nutrients what they need, so what happened, the plant of the rose will start growing, and that is what is the stem cutting. Okay, whereas in the root cutting, which part we have to cut?
The root.
The roots. Okay, the roots we have to cut. So what we should do, we have to cut the root part of it, and then we have to fix in the soil. So that is what the root cutting is. So that's what nothing cutting is, basically cutting a part of the plant and then fixing into the soil, and in few days, depending upon the plant, whatever you have worked on, it will start growing on it. So let us first of all start writing with this, and then we'll move to the second type, which is called as a layering. Is my screen visible?
no,
It's
ma'am.
still loading.
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
But it is showing to me, I don't know what is the problem. Now is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll start first of all with the definition, and sometimes they do ask for the difference between natural and artificial vegetative propagation. So for reason should learn the definition of
Ma'am, your voice is breaking a lot.
artificial. My voice is now am I audible?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, still breaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Now?
Ma'am, it's still breaking.
Yes.
Ma'am, it's still breaking.
Now am I audible?
No, ma'am.
Now also not audible to you?
Yes. Ma'am, it is breaking, but it is better.
Now also I'm not audible to you.
Now it is okay.
I'm doubt.
I think some problem is there on side. Am I audible, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is visible?
Ma'am,
Screen is visible or not?
no, ma'am.
No, I'm stuck.
Now,
Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
okay. Finally, we can start now. So, artificial vegetative propagation, it is a horticultural technique used to reproduce plants through intervention. Human
Not your voice.
intervention using words other than the need. Am I audible, children? Am I audible, children, now?
I mean, you are audible, but it's just breaking.
Ma'am, two doubts.
Ma'am is not in the meeting.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
And the
Two
screen
doubts side, ma'am.
is visible?
No, ma'am.
It is not visible, ma'am.
Now it's visible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not.
Okay. So, it is a horticulture technique used to reproduce plants through human intervention using methods other than natural seed production. Other than natural seed production. And this will be involving which all different parts? It will involve the stems, it will involve the leaves, it will involve the roots also. So with the help of these different parts, the new plant can be grown out of it. And three different techniques are there for this. Types are three. The first one is the cutting.
Ma'am, could you show the previous page?
Arya, let me complete and I'll be sharing. Okay, just understand first of all. So cutting, the second one is layering, and the third one is grafting. Okay, three different types are there: cutting, layering, and grafting. Now this cutting is also being, has the two types out of it. The first one is the stem cutting, and the second one is the root cutting, right? So it is root cutting. Whereas in the layering also, it has the two types, which are the air layering, which are the Mound, M-O-U-N-D, and mound layering. And the second type of it is the air layering. So these two terms we'll be discussing when we are going to discuss about the layering. Okay. So now let us start with the first one, which is cutting. So cutting. Cutting is basically a method of vegetative plant propagation. Vegetative plant propagation where a part of the plant like stem, like a stem, leaf, or root is cut off. So what we should do, we have to cut any of the part, whatever the requirement is, and then we have to plant them. So, and plant it to grow a new plant. So plant it to grow a new plant. So in this techniques, we will be growing a new plant without the seed. That is what the cutting. Now the first one here is the stem cutting. So talking about the stem cutting, it is a type of cutting, a type of cutting where a section of the stem. So in the case, what we will be doing, we will be taking the section. Here the section means the node and the internode together, okay? So it should be with the node and the internode. So a type of cutting where a section of the stem, which includes a node and internode, from a parent plant is removed, okay? From the parent plant is removed and planted in soil or water. So what happened after this when we do it? So it can develop roots and grow into the new plant. So though we are cutting the stem part, but what happens? Initially, at the first stage, the roots will only come. So it can develop the roots and it grow into a new plant. So examples here, like the rose, as I told you, rose plant. Then we have the tomatoes. Tomato plant also can be grown by using this method. Then sugar cane can also be grown by the stem cutting method. Then the next one is the root cutting. Root cutting. So it is a method of propagation. It's a method of propagation where a piece of the root, where a piece of the root from a parent plant is cut. From a parent plant is cut and planted to grow a new plant. So what will be happening? A part of a root will be cut and then it will be used to grow a new plant. So examples here are we have a plant called as Dahlia. Then most of the herbs, most of the shrubs, they are reproduced by this method. So that is what about the stem cutting and the root cutting. Understood, children? What is artificial propagation, what is cutting, and what is stem and root cutting?
Yes.
Any doubt any one of you have can ask me now. So start writing this artificial vegetative propagation.
Done, ma'am.
Everybody has done it. Shall we go to the next page?
No, ma'am, just a second.
Okay, all right, all right. Okay, so this is the second page where the types are given. So write the type 1 cutting, second layering, third one grafting. Under cutting, it will be stem and the root cutting, and under layering, it will be mound layering and the air layering.
Ma'am, can you please explain grafting?
Grafting.
Yes, ma'am.
Grafting, I did not start it itself.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll be starting it after layering. So we have just completed the cutting. After this, I'll be teaching layering and then grafting.
Okay, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Everybody has done
Wait,
this?
wait.
Okay, okay, okay.
Ma'am, are there no points under graph?
In the grafting, there are actually no subtypes. The main parts are there, stalk and scion. Okay, they are the parts, they are not the type.
Okay.
Three are
Done, ma'am.
there. Wait, I'll specify more clearly here. So the first one is cutting. The second one is layering. Third one is the grafting. In this first one, these are the two parts, stem cutting and root cutting, and layering. These are the two different parts. And for grafting, there is no type of.
Done, ma'am.
Just a second.
Ma'am,
Okay, okay. Okay, no problem, do it.
Yes, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now next one, stem cutting, and then the next one, then root cutting. Done, children?
Ma'am,
Wait,
1 minute.
Okay, completed fast.
Done, ma'am.
Ma'am,
All
1
have done?
minute.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the last one is the root cutting.
Ma'am, today we don't have a math class, right?
No, you don't have. Done, children? Shall we go for the next one, which is layering?
Ma'am, 1 minute.
Done, ma'am.
All
Ma'am,
are
1
done?
minute. Ma'am,
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So now in the next one, which is layer. Okay.
Done.
Okay. So next one is layering. Now what happened in the case of the layering? It's a type of the I can say it's a type of the process where what happens, suppose for example, this is the tree. Okay, this is a tree. Now the tree will have the roots, it has the branches, all those things will be there. Fine. So in this process of layering, the part of the stem, or I can say the part of the branch, will be inserted into the soil like this. Okay. The branch was here. You can see here. Okay. Initially, the branch was here. But what they did then, they have taken the part of it and then they have inserted it down. Instead of on the top, on the tree or on the plant, what they did, they took it and they have inserted the part of it inside the soil. And then they covered it. Okay, whatever the stem was there, they have covered it. Now what happened? inside the soil, this branch is there, and outside a little part is coming. So once they have covered this with soil, a new root from this part will start coming out of it. And once the roots start coming out, slowly and gradually, what do? They will detach this plant. So now how many we have got? From one, we have got the second one. Now the second one will start growing like a normal plant from here. Okay. So like this process where the layering is done. Layering means a formation of the branches like this we can form. And when the root starts coming out of it, we can cut them into the different plants. And each plant then will start growing into the new plants. So these are of two types. The first one will start with the mound layering. It is the mound layering. So as I've explained you right now, a plant is there. We have a plant. So this plant, from this plant, the roots will be there. Now when this stem we are inserting into the soil, like this, we are inserted into the soil, what happened? The roots will start coming from this insert stem part. And once the roots start growing, we will be detaching it. This is called as mound layering. So in this case, the branch will be pulled towards the ground. So what we did, we have pulled this branch towards the ground, and then we have covered this branch with the help of the soil. And slowly and gradually, the new roots will start developing from this part. And once the roots are developed, we can detach from the parent plant. That is what the mound layering. Now coming to the air layering. In the case of the air layering, it happens with the branches. Like trees have the branches, right? So instead of taking that part down to the soil, what is happening? They will be covering the stem of this branch with the soil. Actually, they will be wrapping the soil, moist soil, around it, and then after covering with the soil, they will be covering it with the polythene cover, with the plastic cover. They will be wrapping it up. Okay, the part of the branch, the stem of that branch, they will be covering it with the soil, and after covering with the soil, they will be covering with the plastic cover. Now for few minutes they will be waiting for it, few days they'll be waiting for it, and then ultimately what they will be getting, they will be getting the roots coming out of it. Okay, so once the roots start coming out of this plant, the new branch, then the new plant can be separated and can be grown out of it. Understood? Since it is happening in the air, the whole process is happening in the air, it's called as the air layering. Clear, children, difference between both?
Can you once again repeat it?
Okay. In the case of the mound layering, the down branch will be taken and it will be inserted into the soil like this. One layer maybe, or maybe the two layers also can be made. And whenever the roots starts coming out of those these are not different stem, Pranaya. These are the same. The first stem is the same actually. But what we did, we have made a layer like this of 2 to 3 maybe, or 2 layers. One layer also we can make. And ultimately, each layer will be inside the soil. And after some days, when the root starts coming out of it, we can separate all the plants like this. Understood what is mound layering?
Yes, ma'am. So different plants are being grown from one branch.
Correct. From one, not different plants, same plants, but same plants, but the number of the plants will increase. It was 1 year, but here now how many we have got? We have got 3 more out of it.
Ma'am, could you answer?
See, okay, wait, let me go again.
Ma'am,
This is the plant we have, okay? We have the roots down. Now, for example, here the stem is coming out of this plant, okay? This stem, we will be pulling it down in such a way that it should go inside the soil, okay? The stem is pulled in such a way that it goes inside the soil. And now when it goes inside the soil, automatically, this stem here, it will be getting each and every kind of the nutrient. They will be getting the water, they will be getting the air, they will be getting the soil, everything they will be getting. So because of that, this stem will start growing root out of it. Clear? And once the roots are grown, what we can do? We can cut this plant from here. And when we cut this plant will start growing.
Ma'am, so the number of plants depends on the size of the branch.
Yes, and it depends upon you, how many plants you want to form. If you want to form more than one, you can form 2 layers like this. Instead of 1 layer here, you can insert 1 more layer like this. Understood? If you want 2 plants have to be grown, in that case, you can insert 1 more layer like this. So how many you will be getting? Automatically 2 plants you will be getting, 1 and 2. If you want more than 2, again 1 more layer you can make like this. So you will be getting automatically 3 plants.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Okay.
Ma'am, could you
Whereas in the
answer?
case of the air layering, what happens? They will not be worrying about the down one, down whatever the stem is. What do? They will be taking a branch which is there in the air, basically. On the top, it will be there. So on that branch, what do? They will be cover that branch with the soil. Here, this part, they will be covering it with the soil, with the moist soil they will be covering. And after covering that part with the moist soil, they will cover it with the plastic cover. Okay, they will cover that part with the plastic cover. Now what happened? This area is getting the soil, this area will get the water also, and automatically the air they are getting from the surrounding. So because of that, from this part, the roots will start coming out of it. Okay, now once the root starts coming out, what you can do? You can take this plant and you can insert it somewhere else. That's it. What's the air layering? Clear, Aryan?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, in between I had a disconnection, ma'am. So could you once again explain the whole layering, ma'am?
See, layering is basically a process where the stem will be pulled downwards into the soil. And when it is pulled downwards to the soil, what happens? A new plant will start growing out of it. Okay. And it depends upon you how many more plants you want. If you want 1 plant, then only 1 time you will be making a layer like this. If you want 2, then twice you will be making a layer of the plant like this. And when you make the layer, after some days, the roots will start coming out of it. And once the root starts coming out, you can disconnect them. You can cut them. And individually, then the whole plant will start growing out of it. That is what the layering is.
Ma'am, how is this possible, ma'am? Like you pull.
Yeah. It is possible. It is possible. See, you are not taking the very hard stem. In the case of the very hard stem, it is not possible. But in the case of the soft stems and all, it is definitely possible. People, they are doing this layering process. Why they are doing the layering process? Because the nutrient requirement is same. So be it this plant, be it this plant, be it this plant, all require the same type of the nutrients and all require same type of the things. And that's the reason they are doing it.
Ma'am, example, the lotus of the dark.
Yeah, it can be done.
Ma'am, then what is mound layering?
Mound layering is the same thing, what I've explained you. In the layering, 2 types are there. What I've explained you just now was a mound layering. In the case of the air layering, the top branch they will be taking, covering it with the soil and covering it with the plastic cover.
So, ma'am, how they will cover with soil?
See, they will be taking the soil, moist soil, and they will be wrapping it around. The normal soil, if you take, they will be falling it down. So that is the reason they will be taking a kind of moist soil, which get stuck to that part, and then fastly they will be, wrapping it with the polythene cover.
Ma'am, what's the point of like covering it with moist soil and then using plastic over it? Why?
See, if the plastic they're not using, the moist soil will fall down. Okay. Ultimately, the moisture will go out from the soil. It will fall down. That is the reason they have to cover it. And polythene is not the normal polythene what we are using. For them, it's a different type of the polythene which gets stuck with the soil. And ultimately from that soil, small roots will start coming out.
Ma'am, so it is on the root. So I mean on the stem.
Stem, yes, on the stem only. On the root, layering does not happen. It requires a stem to focus on because roots are already there inside the soil, right? How the layers can be formed. That is why it is done with the stem so that they can take and they can form the different layers. Be it the mound layering, be it the air layering, Almost they are same. The only difference is in the case of the mount, it will be under the soil, whereas in the case of the air layering, it will be in the air like.
And then air layering is possible on those hard stems also now.
Yeah, it is possible on the hard stem as well.
Okay.
Okay, children, so we'll be writing about this maybe in the next class. So again, I'll explain you one more time, maybe in the next class about the layering. So till then, you also think what I've explained to you. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
children.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.